idea what happened, no idea what was happening at all. The idea that you were begging, I entirely understand, because when I was your age, when I was that age, I was maybe a little bit older actually, that's when we had this assignment for class where we had to write our three wishes, and my first two wishes were to see my mother and to see my sister. I brought this home to the woman who adopted me and I shared that with her, and I remember actually crying, and nothing ever came of it. I've always known that I needed to find my mother and my sister to a degree, and it has been since that age, so I empathize with this. But of the same accord, you have no idea what was happening that summer. First of all, yes, Judgment came through in the spring, and we were supposed to work with this Dr. Shea. This Dr. Shea was supposedly some specialist in schizophrenia and whatever stuff, because they wanted to say that I am crazy. And it blew my mind, to be completely honest, because when I entered this individual's office, when you entered his office, he actually had a big poster with the Grateful Dead, and actually had signatures from the band members on that poster. Why is that significant? This is why I say that you always need to be smarter to talk to me, because you're not smart enough yet. And you're speaking and saying things that you don't understand the context or the ramifications of. I believe that medically they say after taking 6 or 7 hits of acid, you are considered legally insane or something to that effect. I have not done acid. But somebody who has a poster of the Grateful Dead with their signatures, if you talk to anybody who has any modicum of competency about these things, the probability of this individual, Dr. Shea, having taken acid multiple times in his life is way too likely, especially considering his age and the fact that he probably traveled with them for a while. Now, on the other side of it, I actually did meet the drummer of the Grateful Dead, Bill. His last name is difficult, but anyways. The first couple of appointments with Dr. Shea went fine. We were supposed to be meeting every other week. But then what Dr. Shea did is he did not reply to attempts to make an appointment, to make the third or fourth appointment. He just didn't reply. And then when he finally did reply, he said, I was on vacation. We need to plan for another 2 weeks ahead. And I was like, the court said every other week. And you just went 3 to 4 weeks without communicating anything? And the thing about it is that I had no support. Joan and James were just, I can't help it. And everything else that was happening in that time, I didn't have any support. And you're still, and they want to use you to judge me. And I'm not even getting into what your mother was doing and had been doing for years before then. Because again, you've been trained to not take my life in context. You've been trained to literally invalidate and disregard my humanity. That is what you have been trained to do, and it is sickening. That's what they did to me. You have no idea what happened even later after that. I had plans. I knew exactly you wanted. The idea was that we were supposed to be meeting every other week within therapy, our sessions. And then the further idea would be that you would be spending time with Joan and James on the weekends. Because you were supposed to have every other weekend with me. That was the original agreement. If we want to go back to it, we got separated when your mother spent the night with God knows who. And in the morning wanted to come see you, but it was my time. So she barged into my space and took you from me. And while I was getting the car seat out of the car, I got arrested because I didn't have my driver's license on me. It was 10 o'clock in the morning. I had just gotten done making breakfast for you in my pajamas. I didn't have my driver's license on me, and cop thought that I caught an attitude, so they arrested me. So the idea was that I was going to be having meetings with you every other week in therapy. It was going well. It was going swimmingly. It was going too good. Because I was doing too well. And so that's why I believe they had to make this whole big old hiccup. Because they knew they could derail me. And they did. I'm not supposed to be frustrated about this. I'm supposed to somehow move on. I'm supposed to act as though you've moved on. I'm supposed to act as though they've moved on. See, that's the thing. We want to get down to brass tacks. If your mother's relationship was as solid as she claims it is, she wouldn't be so scared of my truth. Because it's different than hers. And look at how the world is operating. It's in line with this very dismissive and very negligent and very egotistical attitude, which you have been trained to enact. And it is sad, because it literally hurts everyone. And this is what the world is doing to our children. And I'm the bad person for talking about it. I mean, that's the fundamental irony. Again, I am the bad person for saying these things. It's because you don't work. You don't put any effort into work. The way that a white person and the way that somebody like me gets treated doing the same job is entirely different. That's not an excuse. I'm not saying it as an excuse. I'm saying it as a reason why I'm not going to enslave myself so that a white woman can lord her foolishness over me. Because that's all that this still is. Just whiteness trying to demonize me. I'm sorry, the name is really ugly too. Just like, I'm sorry. And it's sad, and it is what it is. It's not that I don't care anymore, but it's just like, wow. Like, what you did to a child's psyche. I mean, it's evil. It's actual evil. And people, you know, I know evil. I've seen the face of evil. I've seen it in the mirror. I'm not denying that it isn't possible within me. But the fact that people expect one to be calm about these things is just sad. It's horrifying. And now there's gonna be this big uproar because we care about these nameless women, we care about these nameless children. But when you actually put a story onto it, if the story doesn't fit what you want, you won't care. You don't. It is absolutely evident in my story. And I feel blessed and grateful to have survived, to be able to tell my story. It is a horrifying nightmare. Horrifying nightmare. You know what? Buck up, get over it, right? I feel really a lot more at peace though. Like, I mean, that's the thing. Like, I know they're wrong. I know it is wrong. All of it is wrong. Healthy people would not be acting like this at all. Me talking about this publicly, is not me being unhealthy, not one little bit. Especially given the context of everything that's going on. It's. This is the world that you people have created, and you call it. You do it under the banner of Christianity, and you do it under the banners of capitalism. And like I said, I mean, like the whole story of interacting with all these different people that could have made a difference. It would only take one person, but nobody wants to be that first person. Everybody takes half steps. And I mean, again, for me, it just really, really hit me being from Colombia and being adopted to Minneapolis, being adopted into that really just that toxicity. Just absolutely unmitigated toxicity. And you people think that you're healthy. Oh. I'm happy that I survived. Because I wasn't supposed to. I'm supposed to be dead so that everybody can listen to my kid say, "We begged, we tried." And it's like, sweetie, those are your mother's lies. Straight up. Straight up. You were not old enough to be entirely aware. And ever since you've been old enough to be entirely aware, you've been intentionally told lies and misdirected. That's what whiteness does. Your way of thinking is not the only way of thinking. Your way of thinking is not the right way of thinking. I'm not saying that my way of thinking is the right way of thinking, but separating a child from their biological parent, only for that child to grow up and to spit lies at that biological parent, that's not healthy. Period. And blaming me for that is ridiculous. I mean, that is my... I wouldn't even say it. I mean, because again, these people have... You've grown up in a cloistered environment. And it is. It's in another piece that I'm about to make public. My perspective is different because of some very unique circumstances that allowed my psyche to make a break from the collective while maintaining some semblance of stability. Crazy. Crazy. I am happy, like I said, that I can operate from a place of honesty. Because it is so important. It's when you lie to yourself, the consequences that it has are astronomical. I do remember almost every lie I've ever told. I'm not innocent. And I know that I've sought the consequences of my lies because sometimes it sucks to tell the truth. But God, it is so much worse to lie. Even with the small things. And I mean, I think that's I'll be honest with you. People get caught up when they first, because it's so easy or it's convenient to lie about our feelings. That is such a slippery slope. I'm not gonna lie to myself about my feelings. It sucks to admit them sometimes. Fuck, it sucks. But it's also this beautiful blessing of life to be able to have these feelings. So I don't want to deny them, and I don't want to lie about them either. I want to understand them, and I want to learn how to best care for and utilize them. White supremacy. It's an absolute nightmare. It's an absolute nightmare. Fuck. And I mean, to just really, the gaslighting that will continue to happen because people don't know how to act any differently. I will admit it is incredibly lonely to be this aware. I'm not safe with anybody because there isn't anybody that is as aware of their own behavior as I am, not nearly, and so they operate on motives that are unspoken to themselves. And I see those motives, and if I point them out, I'll be attacked for it, so it's not safe. Like I said, hon, you gotta be smarter to talk to me. And you're not gonna be smarter until you talk to me. Until you listen. But you got this mad rush like everybody does. Like I said, I'm really learning to just be happy with my life and my moments. And it is a blessing. And I'm trying not to take them for granted. But I'm also realizing how conditioned we are to take advantage of each other. I don't want to participate in that. And it feels good to know that I'm not, and I won't. Nope, can't do it. The idea that they want to portray that they begged me to do anything is... I mean, just the levels of what needs to be unpacked is so ridiculous, especially when you start to hear how the story actually played out. I mean, the levels of manipulative violence, it is so sickening. It is so sickening. And to put all this through your child. And then to blame me. I believe in my child. They're young, but I know that they were conceived in love. I don't doubt that. Wow. Anywho. I mean, again, just to have been able to see life from more than just one perspective in so many respects. My child can't do that. Too resentful to observe what is actually happening around them. They were trained to be resentful. This is something that was instilled in them. The resentment was with their mother as well. And it's the resentment, I think, is almost something that sometimes it feels like a core component of whiteness. There's always an axe to grind. There's always something to prove. That's why we can't honestly acknowledge ourselves or our own identities. I mean, again, I always knew that eventually I was the one that was gonna be blamed for not acknowledging people's heartache, and nobody will acknowledge the violence that I was forced to endure from literally all sides, even the people that are painting themselves as victim now, minus my child. My child is the victim in this. But for my child to say that anyone begged, that's a very violent lie, especially given what transpired in those months. That was violent, and those were lies as well. And it was horrific, and it was meant to derail the entire process so that there could be a complete severance of, and everybody was aligned with this. This is how whiteness works. This is how genocide works. This is how cultural genocide works. And the child is meant to blame me. The absurdity is blatant for anybody who has open eyes. And it's... I will sleep better tonight. Because validation doesn't feel good, but at least that rain cloud's moved on. Nightmare. Absolute nightmare. And just watching how whiteness works every time. And just the same silly lies kicking the can down the road. The United States is 240 some years old and empires last 250. Don't wonder why it's crumbling. It's sad, and it doesn't have to be. When we talk about identity, me feeling so much more secure in my identity and understanding all the different identities that I embody, from being Latino to being a gringo to being muisca también. And to be recognized See, that's the thing. My child has been trained, just as the woman who adopted me does by instinct. It's, dare I say, as whiteness does by instinct. We really truly dismiss people's humanity when it ceases to entertain us. I mean, that's the game plan. If it's not convenient, it's disposable. And so also in just being able to feel better about how I enact this work. All of it. It's that I am thankful for. I'm really thankful for. And again, it really just does reaffirm for me just the toxicity of lies and the violence of lies and how I don't want to lie. I'm happy that I'm happy that I stopped lying a long time ago. And it is, and there are so many levels and layers to it. You hate Christianity! Rawr! When I was a child, I remember reading the Old Testament, and I remember that in the Old Testament there was somebody, I don't know if it was Solomon, somebody maybe within David's line. And the one thing they prayed for and the one thing they asked for when given a wish is they asked for wisdom. And at that young and impressionable age, that was set forth as an ideal that was worthy and attainable. Am I wise? Probably not. But I'm aware, and there's wisdom in awareness. There's wisdom on the road to self-actualization. like I said, the idea was for us to be meeting every other week. And then you were going to be spending time with James and Joan on the weekends. And eventually it was going to transition to us spending time over at Jim Tierney's place without James and Joan. The idea being you spent the weekends with James and Joan, and there would be a 4-hour chunk on that Saturday afternoon where we would be able to spend time over at Jim Tierney's. That was the plan. Now what James and Joan did is they do what whiteness does. They put words in my mouth that worked for them. They went behind my back to access the lawyer. And then 2 months later, they said, hey, we're spending time with Cressa like you asked. I did not ask them to go about things in that manner, not one little bit. Not at all. And everything that you've ever heard from James and Joan has been a lie as well. Facts. Nobody in your world has ever told you the truth. That sucks. It's also the truth. And I am the villain. And you... I would be angry if it was unexpected. But it is like I told Jim Tierney, in order for me to ever have a relationship with you, you're gonna need to get deprogrammed. Facts. Because you've been told lies your entire life. And I am the one that needs to help unravel all of those. And I need to pray that I don't get killed before that gets accomplished. And you get to feel entitled to try to condescend to me for the rest of your life, and it is obscene, and it is ridiculous, and it is ugly, and it is pathetic. Period. Literally pathetic. Literally just stupid that your mother would behave in this way. Not unsurprising, but I mean just stupid. Just stupid, stupid, stupid. Just like, why? Why do you... And the funniest thing is that her mother is a photographer and thinks she's a photographer for black and brown people and calls herself not racist. That again, I mean, this whole thing, it is a joke, it is a parody, and that is almost why I have to speak it publicly, because I can't hold it within. It is such a parody. It is, and the joke isn't on me. The joke is on the community that continues to perpetuate and enable this type of toxic, disgusting behavior by bigots. Those are accurate words. And that's the thing, is I've walked through the halls of leadership in Minneapolis. And not the small halls of leadership. I saw connections that nobody else would ever see. You just wouldn't, and that's alright. It's not my job to prove all of that to you. If you have a if you have the capacity to think structurally, if you have the capacity to think systemically, it should be rather obvious. So trying to tell me that I'm crazy, good luck with that. It's just not true. It's never been true. It's never going to be true. And just the complete self-delusion. I mean, again, look at it. What's gonna happen with this Roe versus Wade stuff? I pray that it can get resolved at the federal level, but we have to look at what happened with George Floyd. And now white women are literally going to try to strong-arm black and brown women, and that's not a sustainable victory. It's not. I mean, it is exactly like what happened here. A white woman finds another white man and basically strong arms the white man into being a father, and they say that this is victory, we're a family. Everything about your family's attitude is toxic. Everything, and it's violent and it's racist. And that's evident by your own child's behavior, and their foolishness, and their negligence, and their ignorance, and their arrogance. Congratulations. You're not a good person. And then trying to point your finger at me and say I'm not a good person because of this, that, or the other, or God knows what. Like, you needed to make better choices. I've never had really too many good options. And again, everybody wants to act like their opinion is valid, and it isn't. It just simply isn't. The life of an adoptee is way too nuanced. So, and that's not to say that I'm beyond reproach or beyond critique, but in order to critique, you really have to acquaint yourself with the story, because otherwise your critiques are going to be blindsided by things that are obvious to those who have even a modicum of competency on the story. But again, the United States is not invested in telling itself the truth about anything. It's an entire country built on lies, and you need to acknowledge that. Because like I said, I mean, what is continuing is genocide. Separating me from my child is cultural genocide. It is. And it's sad because I watched people, really try to do this. If we want to be honest with ourselves, it gets down to language, and this is why the grandfather of my child likely paid for my child to go to Chinese immersion school to learn Chinese. There is a method that is ingrained when you learn a specific language, and it was meant to really almost create the infrastructure to divide me from my child in so many different ways. It like I said, it is insidious, and it is actual evil. Because again, when we get down to it, the grandfather was raised largely in Nazi Germany. What, you were just on the other side of the line, dude, and your dad was the one that was in charge of deciding which of the German scientists would come back to America, and you try to tell me that when you adopt a child and you specifically need those children to have blonde hair and blue eyes, and you're trying to tell me that my child wasn't raised by racists? Dude, get a grip. You're out of your mind. Like, what? Okay. Like, psychotic. Evil. And I have to carry all of this knowledge within me. I have to carry this story within me. And I'm supposed to be calm about it. What? And everything that I say is invalid because I smoked a marijuana joint, perhaps, today. And again, people that employ that level of logic, I mean, just the density of your stupidity is almost unimaginable. The density of your arrogance is really incredible. When you have a structural understanding of what's happening, you will comprehend why I do what I do. Facts. Nothing that I do is without rhyme or reason. Nothing. It is all based on very structured and systemic thinking. Even the impulses. I had to learn this level of self-control because this society has been literally trying to kill me since I was adopted. And it has trained my own child to use the trigger. And I honestly wouldn't be surprised if my child doesn't start saying stupid and ridiculous things. I said stupid and ridiculous things when I was their age. But again, to have actually trained a child, I mean, again, it is just, it's because again, like that's the thing, is that my ex-wife was told by the woman who adopted me, you never know what you get when you adopt from a developing country. And they are continuing this narrative, and they are training my child to think that I am defective product. And that I was unresponsive to them begging. Just the insidiousness of these lies is typical of the United States of America. It is typical of whiteness. It is typical of colonialism. It is typical of capitalism, devoid of humanity, devoid of conscience. It's sickening. It is so sickening. So sickening. It's typical. And the United States is quickly devolving into surveillance fascism. And it is so sad because my child thinks that whatever stalking it is that they're doing and their methods of communication, they think that it is mature, when in fact it is just a repetition of the surveillance state, operating as judge and jury over things that it really has absolutely no idea about, but it doesn't have the humility to acknowledge its own ignorance. Like I said, I mean, it's the same thing. I would be able to think that the family my child calls their family is a healthy family if she didn't have such a piss poor attitude. Because her attitude is not based on reality, it's based on lies. And as a parent, when you allow your child to grow up with narratives based on lies, again, the insidiousness of that is absolute abject evil. But white people are able to enact this level of evil almost on instinct. That has been my experience. And they have no remorse, and they have no regret. They will get their way, and that is all that matters. is unquestioningly violent. And I have been forced to endure this violence entirely alone for my entire life, and I have survived.